discussion in what we'll be covering today, which, as we've already alluded to, is the overseas fund regime. Obviously, there's been a lot of chatter and sort of small tidbits of news from the FCA and obviously things coming out from the Treasury. And yeah, really only this year has it sort of surfaced as potentially the end of this life raft period, where we've had to deal with things like Section 272 and obviously this sort of temporary permissions regime. Peter, who's better qualified than you to tell us what is the overseas fund regime, what's its significance, and when can we expect it to come in full force?
Okay, well, the last question has become a bit more difficult to answer due to recent events, but essentially the overseas funds regime will replace access for retail funds coming into the UK. So it's broader than just UCITS, but the original focus has been on the fact that UCITS can no longer access the UK market via the UCITS passport. But the importance of European UCITS being sold into the UK has been well recognised. Many of these are actually managed out of London, so or Edinburgh or other financial centres in the UK. So it's so they're very much that they're not just sort of European products; they're key products for UK managers as well. So keeping that. Preserving that access was viewed as being one of the real priorities, after Brexit. So the overseas fund regime is designed to recognise a particular fund regime to avoid having to go through individual fund recognition, as with Section 272. It's not quite the same as the old UCITS passport, where you could just file your notification with the regulator. They then told the FCA, and 10 days later you could come in. There is going to be more of an application. There's going to be a scrutiny process for individual funds that are applying for recognition under the OFR. But the difference of Section 272 is that the regulator isn't having to look at what regime they're under, what are the rules that apply to those particular UCITS, and do they meet sort of UK standards. So it's going to be a much more straightforward process. It will take about 2 months, up to 2 months, to get recognised, although we hope that many applications will be much quicker than that. There'll be a new digital online portal for making applications. So those of you who are used to the current clunky FCA system, where you sort of scan PDF documents and email them and so on, which probably seemed quite modern a while ago, but now it's looking a little bit only marginally more modern than the old fax machine. So that's going to be available as well. There will also be some ongoing compliance and notification and reporting requirements for overseas funds. So if I would talk about when it's coming in, so the FCA and HMT published a joint timetable of all the different stages that are happening in end of March. And so they according to that timetable, the FCA will be publishing its policy statement on the OFR in July, and will then we'll open the OFR for applications in September. And then there are also sort of various rate stages as to extending the original TMPR, so to allow those to allow a bit more time to get the applications in. They've also indicated when landing slots will be allocated to individual firms to transition from the TMPR into the OFR, and it's certainly important to try and meet those landing slots, because if you miss your landing slot, then your fund's now out of the TMPR. So, but of course, since that timeline was published, there has been this minor detail called the general election that's been called. So Parliament was closed. Now, the statutory instrument that allows the FCA to recognise UCITS as equivalent did go into the Parliament, was laid before Parliament under the negative procedure before Parliament closed. There is a period of time when parliamentarians can sort of raise any sort of challenges to that, but otherwise it's not actively debated. So there's been a slight pause in that period, but otherwise that's pretty much in. So that will allow the FCA to start recognising funds. There was a second instrument that hasn't gone in, which would have extended the TMPR. And there's also some of the details around if you've got an umbrella with the uses and non-uses, and to our knowledge, that hasn't gone in. So there will be something to sort out after the election with the TMPR. So that does possibly sort of influence the timetable slightly. We're not expecting any huge delays.